Good morning, everyone. This is Elio Piedra, and you are watching Morning Coffee with Elio. If you are looking to boost your morning, to bring that energy level right back up, and to learn and grow, you are the right place. Today's guest, it is an amazing entrepreneur that, not only entrepreneur, he's a real estate broker and the author of an amazing book that I highly recommend, and you should go to Amazon or any platform that this book is. The Real Estate Evolution. If you're into real estate, into growth and building wealth, stay right there because Dan Rochon is going to join us after this. Get up, baby, this morning. This is Elio Piedra. Another morning means another coffee because this is Morning Coffee with Elio. This is going to be a great day. We have a fantastic guest. And the wait, it is over. Welcome to Morning Coffee, Dan. How you doing?
Good morning, Elio. Thanks for inviting me. I brought my coffee, my man.
Hey, I'm telling you, that's all you need. That's all you need
Hey,
all day
there it
long.
is. There it is. There it is.
All day long, right? That is awesome. I am super excited to have you here, and I feel honored and blessed because we are always seeking that to reach that next level of human performance, that next level of evolution and development. And I think you are the perfect human to talk this morning about this topic. And I'm looking to learn more about your business, your book that I am super excited about. So let's begin with your book. You just released, I understand, right? This book that is called The Real Estate Evolution. So talk to me about the book and about these 3 points that you are actually trying to achieve with people, which is how to unlock your potential, the 3 actions to take when facing adversity, and the scariest thing that a real estate agent could do today.
Well, thank you, Elio. I appreciate it again. It's an honor for me to be on your show. And so, Real Estate Evolution is the 10-step guide to C.P.I. for real estate agents. C.P.I. stands for consistent and predictable income. And so I've been selling real estate since 2007. And I got into real estate sales really to really make a difference for my clients, for my sellers, for my buyers, to help them to achieve their goals, to help them to be able to solve their problems. And through my journey, I've had a lot of great successes. I've had a lot of great, I call them learning opportunities. Others may call them failures. And from every single setback that I've had, I've taken a choice to be able to learn from it. And 2 years ago, I had a real estate brokerage I had owned for 10 years. I bought it a year and a half after I got my license, and it was a rather large brokerage. I sold it. And when I sold the brokerage that I had owned for more than 10 years, then I began the next part of my journey, and that's when I started to write Real Estate Evolution.
That is fantastic. So I wanted to ask you then, when you say that the 3 actions to take when facing adversity, what can you tell me about this?
Well, so when you're facing adversity, and this is something that many of us are facing right now. I mean, we're going through a pandemic. We are going through, at best case scenario, we are doing things differently today than we did 9 months ago. And so one of those three things that my recommendation that you do when you're facing adversity is to understand that though you cannot control what's going on outside, you can't control the external. You can control your response, right? So there's a concept in the book that I talk about, ultimate responsibility. If you look at the word responsibility, it's the ability to respond, if you were to break down that word. And so there's no way that we can control what's happened to us externally, yet how are we going to respond? For example, right now, there's a tragic time for some in regards to health concerns, et cetera. There's definitely an evolution in our economy, and something that I would expect is going, it has not even played out fully, nor even, close to playing out fully. And so you could take a look at, coming from that from a point of view of, man, that's horrible, that's bad. Or you could take an understanding that we are right now going through an 18-month period that the greatest transfer of wealth, of affluence, of prosperity that has ever occurred, not just in your lifetime or my lifetime, also in the 4 lifetimes in front of us. The next 18 months, we're in the middle of that transfer of wealth. And so we can either understand that, take responsibility for what we can, and then benefit from the circumstance, or we can hide in a hole. So the first thing that I was to do when you're facing adversity is to be responsible, to respond to the situation. The second thing that I talk about in the book in regards to when there is adversity is that you have a choice. If there's a storm coming, you can run away from the storm and you can run into the storm. Those that choose to, but either way, the storm's coming. Okay, either way, the storm's going to overcome you because you cannot run faster than that storm. Okay, we had a tropical storm hurricane that came through, through the East Coast last week. You and I, we cannot outrun that hurricane or tropical storm. We can't do it. So you can now, of course, you could plan in that scenario, right? So maybe that's not a great, example, but in that scenario, you could plan and stay safe. Yet, in business, in the world, in your personal life, when you run into the storm rather than away from it, you're going to find that you can have a greater impact because you're not going to have as many running into that storm. Right. So it's to choose to respond. It's to choose to take action. And then it's choose to be accountable. So if you choose to run into that storm, don't do so haphazardly. Don't do so without a plan in place. Okay. So maybe I'm going to run into that storm for the purpose of finding a shelter. Or maybe I'm just going to run into that storm and not even pay attention. That could be dangerous. And so I wouldn't recommend that. So those are the 3 things that I see that when you're faced with adversity, that will allow for you to not only weather the storm, also to be able to benefit from the external things that are going on.
That is fantastic. I really like on the back, and we said never, never, never give up.
There it is right there. That's right.
Yes.
I would add about 74 never nevers on the back of that sign. It says never, never, never give up unless if you should. So that would be my little side note that I would put at the bottom of that, unless if you should. Right? Yes. That's my little disclaimer to my never, never, never give up.
Awesome. Let's expand a little more on another point that I love and very passionate about, by the way, and your book talks about it, is unlocking your potential. I know that many people, they got stuck, not only how they project to humanity, but also within them. So what can you say? How are you describing or developing this concept within your book about unlocking your full potential?
Elio, so you said it really correctly, stuck. I love the word stuck because our lives for a potential are often a closed loop. Okay, so if you can ever imagine, maybe I have a friend, a lady who has had the same boyfriend. She's a friend of my wife, and she's had the same abusive alcoholic boyfriend probably I've been married, I've been with my wife almost 20 years now. So probably during those 20 years, I've seen that same guy 7 or 8 times. Okay, he drinks, he cheats, he's abusive, different name, different capsule, different body. It's the same person though. And so that's an individual looking externally. You're like, wow, she's making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. You know, and it's because she's in a closed loop, like we all are, and that's no judgment on her, right? So when you look, say, well, what causes that loop to be closed? It's because when you understand is that the surroundings that the circumstance, the surroundings that we have, the things that we program ourselves with causes us to have thoughts. Right now, if you're watching this or you're listening to this, there is a thought. In this moment, there's a voice in your head. That is what thought is. It's that voice that's in your head that goes through from one side to the other and says something. Sometimes it can be judgmental. Sometimes it could be empowering. Sometimes it could be superficial. It could be whatever the case may be. But that thought comes from your programming. So if you have empowering thoughts, then you're going to have empowering feelings. So the programming leads to the thoughts lead to the feelings. And when you have empowering feelings, then you're going to take empowering actions. And when you take empowering actions, so the programming leads to the thoughts, leads to the feelings, lead to the actions, which then lead to the results. And if you think of this, if you're listening as though if it was like a clock, and at the top at 12 o'clock is the programming, to the right about 2 o'clock is the thoughts, to about maybe 4 o'clock is the feelings, to the about 8 o'clock is the actions, and about 10 o'clock is the results. And then those results go back into the programming, and that's a closed loop. So you might think, okay, so if that's a closed loop, then I'm just sort of stuck in what I'm doing. That's not true, because here's the hack. The hack is within the programming. So if you want to impact that closed loop, then you could choose to do so through the programming. So how can you get better programming? You could do so by reading. You could do so by exercise, by creating great relationships with high-minded people like Elio, our host today. You could do so through affirmations. And by the way, we all have affirmations. It's just, are you going to choose to have powerful affirmations? Right? You stub your toe, you can be like, oh, I'm a dummy, right? Like, I don't even like to say that, even in this context. That is an affirmation. And if that's what you're affirming, then that's what you're programming. You can do so through visualization. When you visualize your future in a very crystal clear manner, as though if it's real, your brain cannot tell the difference between reality and in crystal clear visualization. So those are some of the ways that you can hack into that programming so that now you can have better thoughts, which lead to better feelings, actions, results back to the programming.
I can explain how much I love that topic of unlocking your potential. And I really love when you mention programming, okay? Because watch this, guys. If you don't want to program your mind in a positive, like powerful, empowering way, it's fine. It's gonna be programmed anyhow, all right? But the saddest part is that it's not going to be programmed in a positive way. And I mean, since we wake up, when you turn on the news, when you turn your TV on, any channel, all right, any show, I mean, 90% of that is going to be about negative things, okay? So it is crucial for you as an entrepreneur, for you as a client, as an investor, whatever you do in life, to program your mind in a positive way. That's why I love that point on your book about unlocking your potential and breaking patterns. When you actually was mentioning your friend's husband and repeating the same story, that's good to, I mean, it is very important to understand that we already have a problem, but also how we're going to break that pattern, and the same thing is when we are actually developing a business, all right? So your book, now going back to the real estate topic, it is helping people, finding different ways to break, negative patterns and bad habits about how to how they can develop better, understanding about real estate and the real estate evolution. And I would like to ask you, when we are talking about real estate evolution, breaking patterns, unlocking your potential, how would you define real estate evolution?
It's a 10-step guide to C.P.I. And so evolution is something that we are all going through personally. It's something that our environment, our business environment is going through. It's something that our personal environment is going through. And it's something that is being amplified today. And so the causes of that amplification, if you consider this from a business perspective, but it also goes into life outside of business as well. It is these four things impact business, and some of these four impact personally, which is commoditization, big data, artificial intelligence, and technology. Those are the four things that are amplifying our society's evolution today. Okay, so absence commoditization, the other three are present in regards to just society, right? So, for example, I'm holding up an Android phone right now, and you could have this or an iPhone, and literally we can, any event that's going to be substantial is going to be filmed. And it's going to be broadcast to potentially millions of people in real time. Never before in the history of humanity has that been able to happen. When you look at, okay, I want to, I got this little cover for my microphone here that I'm looking at that I wanted to get, and I ordered it yesterday, and this morning it was sitting at the front door of my house. And I didn't leave my home. Okay, yes. That is the technology is being able to amplify, is being amplified. Okay, if you look at commoditization today, that's impacting businesses because the word commoditization means that in the absence of perceived value, the consumer will go to the lowest price commodity, the lowest price service or product 100% of the time. Okay, that's in the absence of perceived value. Now, when you take commoditization, which has always been present, you pair it with technology, you amplify it with artificial intelligence and big data, suddenly you've got a changing society, not just in business, also in life, that is evolving. I mean, we've always evolved, but we're evolving faster than ever before today.
Yes, that is awesome. And then going back to your book and going back to the point where you said the scariest thing that a real estate agent could do today. Talk to me about this.
Well, I would say that this is probably the scariest thing a real estate agent can do any day. Specifically today, it would be to not take action, to sit in fear. And so, depending on where you are in the country or where you're watching or listening to, your society might have a different, perception on what's going on with the pandemic. And you go back to those, that goes back to the programming, having those external influences, right? If you're watching CNN, you might have a different perception than if you're watching Fox News. However, what my point being is, regardless of wherever you are societally, your environment, that you today have been impacted somewhere or another through the pandemic. Many agents are choosing to not take action. Many agents are choosing to stay in fear. Well, I'm not suggesting to be unsafe. Okay, I'm not suggesting to take actions where you put yourself in danger. Yet, we go back to that when I started in the conversation about the transfer of wealth today. There's also transfer of business going on today, because if more people are sitting on the sidelines, meaning your competitors, if you're a real estate agent, meaning your real estate agent competitors, if more people are sitting on the sidelines for other business owners, okay, because they're not being creative, they're not thinking of, okay, here's the situation, can't change that, but if I'm a restaurant, what can I do? Can I do, delivery? Can I do pickup, curbside pickup, those types of things? And some restaurants did that in March, and some restaurants did not. And some restaurants are still thriving, and some restaurants are out of business. So for a real estate agent, the number one thing that you could do is let fear get in your way of taking action. And that's true at any time, not just today. It just goes back to that amplification that I just spoke about. Today, emotions and feelings and fear is even it's even increased.
I love that. I love that. Actually, that reminds me of a quote that I really like. That the quote says, "The valiant, so the coward died many times before their death. The valiant never takes the death but once." And that quote is not about that the valiant doesn't experience fear. That means that the valiant also experience fear but move on anyhow. But the coward got got in stuck, all right, instead of keep unlocking their full potential, as then is mentioning, it got stuck. So I just wanted to, actually mention that quote because what you were saying reminds me of that, and it's a very important inspirational quote. So then
I was going to say, Elliot, to hang on to that for a second. I tell a story in the book of my daughter, Maggie. She's 9 years old now. When she was 5 years old, we took her to a resort in Punta Cana. And this is where the Cirque du Soleil would practice as sort of like their minor league team. So that you would go to this resort of your Cirque du Soleil and you would practice. And if you were good enough, then you would be, taken up into one of the shows. And so Maggie was on the flying. We strapped her in for a flying trapeze with one of the performers to work with her. And she started climbing up the stairs. Or not the stairs, but the ladder. She gets about 3/4 up the ladder, and she turns back down. She comes down. I went over to her. I talked to her for a second. I whispered some encouragement to her ear, and she says, "Okay, Dad." So she went back up. She flew down, and she was just nothing but joy. She gets to the net below, and they help her down. Because that net is even about maybe 20 feet up in there. They help her down. I go over to her. I said, "Sweetie," I said, "how did that feel?" She was just so excited. She wanted to do it again. I said, "Honey," I said, "when you came back down that ladder the first time, what were you feeling?" She's like, Dad, I was scared." I said, "Okay, you were scared. We all experience fear." I said, "But then what happened?" She said, "Well, I went up and had fun, and I'm going to go do it again." I said, "Hold on. Before we go do it again, let's talk about this, right?" Because, I'm teaching my 5-year-old that fear is common for all of us. We all have fear. Now, assuming that fear is not going to prevent you from getting hurt or harmed, it could, like a healthy fear, but assuming that it's outside of that, what are you going to do in the face of fear regardless, right? Are you going to go and swing down that trapeze even when you're afraid and then experience that joy as my daughter did? Because she would not have experienced that joy if she let that fear stop her.
That is awesome. That is huge. Thank you for sharing that with us, Dan. Appreciate it. That is fantastic. Yeah, fear is one of the most scariest thing, in life. And I really hope that you that are watching, you are actually unlocking right now your full potential. And if you are not, make sure that you grab Dan Rochon's book today. Yes, because tomorrow is going to be too late. You need to take action and execute today. So grab that book that we're going to be sharing more information before we finish. But then you are a certified practitioner in the art and science of humanistic, neuro-linguistic, in my Cuban way, psychology and neuro-linguistic programming from the Washington, D.C. Hypnosis Center. Wow.
Yes,
How this specialty has been impacting, I will say, your entrepreneurial journey in your book, in your real estate market. Talk to me about this.
Sure. So, Ellie, I loved listening to your pronunciation of that. And to make it easier, you could just say NLP or HNLP and hypnosis, right? So many people have probably heard of NLP, maybe HNLP, probably have heard of hypnosis. But neuro-linguistic programming is a technology that studies subjective experience. And so the difference between subjective and objective is objective can be proven, or it can be, Elio right now has a really nice bow tie on and a nice hat. Okay, like that is objective, right? Or at least let me say that differently. Elio has a bow tie and a hat on. That's objective. Elio has a nice looking bow tie and hat on. That's subjective. Okay, so that's my opinion of it, right? Now somebody they would be crazy, right? But somebody may say, that's a horrible looking bow tie, right? They'd be crazy there, right? So neuro-linguistic programming is the study of that subjective experience. So we make communication mean something based off of our history. Okay, and so if you can understand that as you're communicating, I was communicating with a lady yesterday, and she's a very, very wealthy entrepreneur, an older lady in her 80s. She started it's a publicly traded company today, and she was the founder, her and her husband, of this. And when I was talking to her yesterday on the telephone, we had a miscommunication, and she was thinking she was supposed to call me, and I was thinking I was supposed to call her, and she got offended because I called her. And her response to me was one of which was, you have no right to call me because I'm more important than you. That was my perception of the communication. In the face of that communication, I could have responded in a manner of getting emotional. Instead, I just recognized it for what it is that even though I'm speaking with a multi-millionaire, maybe even a billionaire, that she has the same desires, the same needs, the same wants as you and I do, where she wants to feel important. Now, her identity is based around wealth, and that's okay. Her importance is based around wealth. Okay, yet for me to sit there and step back and just observe with an understanding to say she's not being mean, she is just wants to feel important, the same way as the young lady that I passed on my way home from a listing appointment this morning, who was on the side of the road, and she was probably about 5 months pregnant and homeless, that I gave a $10 bill to. The same way as that young lady wants to feel important. Now, that young lady that I saw on the side of the road today has a different hierarchy of need. Okay, her hierarchy of need is to hopefully it's to eat. I mean, hopefully that's what she's doing with the money. It's to eat and find shelter, right? That's different than the hierarchy of need of what the lady that I spoke with yesterday was, which was for self-actualization. Okay, but either way, we are all spiritual beings in a human existence, and we all have a different need, but it all surrounds around the place of feeling important. And NLP has taught me that, because before I went through and got trained and certified and teach some of these concepts, before I did that, I probably would have gotten emotionally. When the lady yesterday was sort of pinging at me like, you're not important and I am because I'm wealthy and you're not. Well, first, I don't believe that, right? Because I think wealth is something completely different than what I think she thinks it is. Yet, I didn't allow for any emotions. I just observed it for what it was, and I was able to handle it well.
That is, well, I really like that way, or when you are seeing things that way, because actually I had a guest a couple of shows ago, and we were talking about success is not what you have, but who you are. And that is a product of working constantly on yourself, because once you work on yourself, that is gonna help you to reach your ultimate goal, that may be having money, may be having developments within the real estate market, as we are talking today. But it's so important what you're mentioning about communication skills. I was actually watching a Les Brown video, an interview the other day. He was saying, once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are and what you do, and why it is important for people to watch. For example, right now, if I will say, Dan, it is an entrepreneur and an author, but also he's gonna help you to unlock your potential and in many areas in your life. So you see, when you are communicating that, people immediately they say, oh, wait a minute, so this is important. So we better stay here. So you better leave a comment, you better grab that book. So it's the message that is going on. And then the way I see it, it is that all of this, what is helping, it is your clients, your people, your I will say the people within your organization, that we're going to be talking about that now, to reach their goals, their dreams, and their full potential. Also, when you mentioned that lady at the side of the road, she may have different dreams, but she has dreams, and success for her looks different, but it is success, itself. So I think there is a very important point about like communication skill, communicating what you want. And by saying that, I want to dive right into expectations. Okay, there is something super important that you're mentioning in your book, and I know it's part of who you are within your organization. That is helping your, the people that work with you in your organization to reach your clients' expectations. Let's expand on this because this is super important. Okay, expectations from your clients.
One of the visions for my companies is to be omnipresent in regards to real estate sales in Virginia. The second is to exceed expectations. When I first defined that vision, it was to exceed our clients' expectations. And as I worked with the people on our team, as we worked together, I realized that I was really confining to say exceed our clients' expectations. And so what I learned was to say, well, let's just exceed expectations. And then now you fill in the blank. So that could be our clients. Yes. My vision for the company, and my company's name, Greetings Virginia Sales Network, is my real estate sales company. My real estate coaching company is the C.P.I. community. And so whether that be through the C.P.I. and consistent predictable income, whether that be through the C.P.I. community or through Greetings Virginia Sales Network, it is to exceed expectations of the sellers and buyers through the sales company and through the agents of the coaching company. Yet it even goes beyond that, because as a team, myself and the people that I work with, it's about exceeding each other's expectations. It's about exceeding our family's expectations. Our wives, our husbands, our partners, our daughters, our sons, our parents, our cousins, our friends, exceeding those expectations. And most importantly, in my opinion, is exceeding our own expectations. So that's the vision of the company. Now, to be able to exceed expectations, you have to dive a little bit deeper, because without knowing what those expectations are, you do not know what to exceed. And so to be able to really understand what the expectations are is that you have to be in rapport with somebody, to be able to connect with them at a deep, meaningful level. Then you have to ask adept questions of them, and then you have to actively listen. So when you're in rapport, when you ask adept questions, when you actively listen, then you're able to find out what is it that Elio expects from me? What is it that you expect from my company? What is it that you expect from my friendship, my partnership? Whatever it is, the context of the relationship is defined as. And so when you're able to go through that pattern of really, truly listening, then you're able to then say, okay, here's what is expected of me. Now ask yourself the question, how do I exceed that? So it's not just idle words. There's actually a system within it. And that's really, if you ask me, like, what is the book? The book is a book of systems, right? It's a book of systems of how, okay, great. That sounds great. Exceed expectations. But without like following a system, you're just sort of throwing darts into the air and just hoping that they land on a bullseye, right? Instead, here is a system that will allow for you to more predictably exceed somebody's expectations.
Awesome. So then we have a couple of minutes to go, but you can live without the game of the day. We have a game for you that you need to be part of. So
I love games.
And this is an easy one. So let's make it happen for you. So we are back actually with the game of the day. In this game, Dan is going to select what he will change in the world, and you get to explain why. So we have 4 options for Dan, and the first one is emotional situation, economic situation, political situation, or mindset. What would you change in the world, Dan?
Mindset.
Yes. Why?
And why is because when you have a healthy mindset, then you can manage your emotions healthily. And when you're managing your emotions healthily, you can choose to have a good personal economic situation, and you can choose to have, if you look at politics as not necessarily like Republicans and Democrats, but you look at politics as a set of beliefs, and you look at politics as a set of self-identity, then you could choose to instead look at it as, instead of being so attached to my political identity, let me be open and listen to all. And when I find that when you're more willing to listen, then without passing judgment, then you're going to be able to make better decisions. And so I would encourage for listeners to consider to maybe shed some of that political identity that you may have, not to disregard your values, yet just to open up your mind and listen to others.
That is awesome. Thank you, Dan, for sharing that with us. And once again, I highly recommend you guys to go right now and find this book. So Dan, let's share with our audience how they can buy, download, how they can reach out to you and also buy your book.
Yeah. So on Facebook, I would encourage for listeners and viewers to look for the C.P.I community, which is a very active Facebook group. If you're interested to find the book, you can get it on Amazon. It's also on Audible. You can buy direct by visiting www.therealestateevolution.com.
Fantastic. So Amazon, is there any way that people can listen to it on Spotify, stuff like that?
They can listen to it on Audible. They can also get an audio version from that website, The Real Estate Evolution, as well.
Fantastic. So then it's been a tremendous honor and privilege to have you with us this morning. So
my honor.
Yeah, so I'm gonna let you say goodbye to our audience with a message of hope, a message of trying to motivate our audience today in case they are seeking to reach their goals and their dreams. Just something that can say, hey, we still got what it takes. So I'm gonna let you say goodbye to our morning coffee with Elliot community. And after that, before saying goodbye and saying thank you and how grateful I feel for having you to be as part of our morning coffee community, make sure you like and share this show because Dan is someone that is gonna impact people's life. So we need to share this show, and you need to leave your comment below, and you need to grab that book. So now I'm gonna leave you with Dan Rochon.
Elliot, again, thank you for having me. And for those viewers and listeners, Elliot asked for me to share something inspirational with you. What I want to share with you is that regardless of wherever you are in your life, whatever your dreams are, whatever your aspirations are, we all have a different history. We all have a different context of environment, a different upbringing. Yet, we all have the ability to live within whatever it is that you desire. When you understand why you want to achieve something, then the only question is how. And when your why is big enough, the how will always show up. So I wish you to your success.
Guys, thank you very much for watching Morning Coffee with Elio. Yes, we're really looking forward to seeing you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Do not forget to like us and follow us on Facebook and become part of the Morning Coffee with Elio community. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and live full.